Behold, the robe of luxuriousness. Present score +3. It is I, your main man, and today I return to talk about player chemistry. And player chemistry is something very, very important in games. We're going to get at it in just a minute. If you haven't picked up your deep immersive dark fantasy outlet, go to drivethrurpg.com and pick up Within the Ring of Fire, an RPG you are guaranteed to love and to bring an entirely new, invigorated sense, a merger of mechanics and role playing in a fast, easy to understand, and narratively encouraging fashion that brings all of what I talk about in this video and videos and more into your games. If you like what we talk about here, you like the immersion, the high detail and attention to role-playing games. If you like a system that you can teach players in 10 minutes, Within the Ring of Fire is for you. Go to drivethrurpg.com and pick up your physical copies, or hit me up on Facebook at Andrew Wood or Main Man, and you can get PDF copies of everything that will ever be released. First 4 are out. The 5th one's coming out very soon. And there are 3 more I'm working on. Everything for Within the Ring of Fire only costs you $75 on PDF if you get it right from me. You can't get that deal on DriveThruRPG. That's a deal directly from me, so you can take advantage of that. Now, let me talk about player chemistry. Player chemistry is something really important, and it's something. Let's talk about what player chemistry isn't. We're not talking about player character or catalyst chemistry. We're talking about the chemistry between the actual people at the table. Now, this is something that you almost can't define off of one play, off of experiencing one character of yours with one other person, and generally even with one game master. As chemistry can shift dramatically with changes. If you're playing a character who doesn't work well with their character, that can create all sorts of issues that could even manifest into slight real issues, or sometimes rather extreme ones as well. But I want to qualify what I'm not talking about so we can establish what I am talking about. Now, so just like to evaluate in general if someone's a good actor, you're watching movies, television shows, it's very difficult to do that of watching them in one character. If you see them in 2, 3, 4, 17 different characters, it's far easier to establish their quality as an actor. And I think it's far easier to establish your chemistry with another player off a large number of characters, or particularly if you can get different game masters and other people in the groups, because that I've found that chemistry can change up and down with a lot of players. Now, for me, I'm going to talk about things online. I'm going to talk about people in the real world that I have just had poor chemistry with. I meant to do a video about this a while ago, and somehow I have. Oh, well, here's part 2. But I don't think I did. I was talking to my boy Frank, who you guys have seen in a couple of my videos. He and I went out to some buffet, and we're sitting there for I don't know, 6.5 hours, something like that, just talking, which friends do. You just get kind of lost in conversation. This is one of the things we were talking about, the chemistry, and sort of going through all those sort of different people we know and comparing our chemistry levels, sort of 10-point must systeming, you understand. And for me, I definitely think there's some people I've played with that I just have fantastic chemistry. And if I see them across as a player in a game where I'm a player, then that's just a wonderful thing to me. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, this is going to be really fun. Even if a game master is, here. And other people, when I see them across the table, I'm like, oh, this is going to be pulling teeth. And that's likely the best result. It's either going to be utterly terrible, or it's going to be mediocre. It's going to be difficult. And this isn't to say that the other person's a bad player. That's not what I'm talking about. We will talk about that here. Another person can be a very talented player. They just don't interlock well with you. And it's not to say that their character is not able to work with yours. Although that can be part of it if it happens over and over and over again. You want to try to establish ways that you can work with as large an amount of characters as possible. There are definite ways to do that, and good players who have good chemistry can do that. I certainly try. I might tell a game master, look, man, if I'm playing this necromancer, you really might not want to have an undead hunter here. You really might not want to do that. You really, really might not want to do it. I remember someone did that, and the game just didn't go long. It just imploded like the 3rd session. I was like, dude, I told you really shouldn't have done that. It's just, and it wasn't me, it was the other guy. But certain things just aren't going to work together, and you need to bring that into account when you're putting a saga together, or a story, or a campaign, or whatever the push point of your game is. And a story and a saga and a campaign are different things. You know, a campaign is a military endeavor. It's for a game that is designed and pointed towards a lot of fighting, a lot of hack and slashing, as opposed to highly vivid narrative, gruesome, hyper-violent, descriptive combat that can, in the nuance of detail, take longer than 8 damage, 8 damage, 6 damage, 14 damage, missed, he missed me, you know, that sort of thing, which to me I have no time for, like, or maybe I have a lot of time for, in terms of, I wouldn't do that. I won't take much more time to describe what I'm doing in vivid detail, because that's what brings the value out of that from an RP perspective. But enough of my tangent, which is non-tangential to my general argument here. So what we have is a situation built upon numerous encounters and experiences with another individual. And you can think about that in your own gaming group. Perhaps you game at your friend's house, or online, or a local game store, or stores, and there's people you go around with for quite some time. And it's important to qualify that someone isn't a bad gamer. Yes, for those that somehow have only stumbled upon my channel recently, we do make quantifications of what is good and what is bad. We ground the abstractions, because there is good and bad gaming. There are good and bad gamers. And someone can be good and simply not work with you, even if you don't have enormous dogmatic differences or ideological distinctions to your style. Those things can be fairly well along the same line, but you still may not click for any number of reasons that may have nothing to do with disliking them personally. Although, you know, that can be an issue as well. But that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people you get along with in general that are difficult for you to play with, and then people you get along with, for example, that are easy for you to play with. You know, hand in glove. I can remember two people very much come to mind for me. My buddy Kevin, who's been in a bunch of my videos, as you can see. You know, old school barbarian horde, Kevin Cuff. When we're in a game together, I mean, it's an amazing pleasure for us. If you know, if we're both players, and he's always someone I actively try to get in a game if I'm running it. So, and that's largely because, outside the fact I really like the guy, it's because if we're both players, man, it's going to be dynamic. It's going to be entertaining. You game master kind of go there and sit in the corner, and we'll just go and go and go and go and go and go and go. You know, what most people would qualify as a game system, we could get a scene out of that doesn't involve a game master. You know, as we're going to sell for each other, we're going to go back and forth. We don't need to pick up dice. You know, we can kind of figure out what's going on. You know, what example, we were playing Scion one time, and Blair was running it, and I'm playing the Scion of Aphrodite. We're playing like a little module right in the book. In fact, it's a ripoff, because they give you part of the module and they try to charge you to get a rest. I was like, oh, come on now. But I have like a drink in the middle of the table, and it's actually, it was, in the game it was his drink. I think it was my drink in real life, but I have it on the table, and I give him the deal, you know. No, and it was my character's drink in the game too. So, for some reason, like, he puts his hand on my drink, and I'm like, but I kind of set the deal up with a little, and I'm like, I'm trying to like get it, like I'm all hot and mad at the moment, you know. Of course, in character, not out of character. I was having a blast of a time, and I'm like angry face. I'm like, I'm just gonna yank this away from me. I'm like, I can't, you know, I'm not even budging it. He's just sitting there looking at me. And so I'm selling for him. I'm putting his gimmick over. He's a silent Thor, and he was amazingly strong. And my character, you know, was just as strong as a normal person. Maybe because he had some kind of supernatural strength joint, and I had maybe a 2, maybe a 3 strength. I don't know. The characters came pre-generated, if I recall. So mine wasn't. You know, there was no way he was gonna be able to do that. So it's not like, oh, you just make rolls. No. Just let me sell. Let me escalate what he's doing in the game. Let me put that over, and that's going to be fun, you know, because we're spotlighting his deal, we're spotlighting him, we're giving an RP opportunity, and then, you know, and it's called selling for the other players. You sell for players, man. You can help build that chemistry, and then he's going to put me over later, and he's going to do something for me in that game, in a different game, whatever, to spotlight things, to create interesting scenes and entertain each other and entertain the other players and the game master there, because you're bringing detail, you're bringing additional minutia to examine from the game. So that's a pleasure to deal with. You know, people. For me, the easiest way probably to get over me is to not be a diceaholic. Like if you are like, oh, I want to roll that out, I want to roll that out, I want to roll that. No, just flow with it, dude. I mean, I'll take a bump, you know, for real. Oh, I'd fall down, you know, if you're, you know, and we'll do stuff like that in that game. Just to add, people are, oh, you know, and then, you know, give them the eye rake or something. You know, just get up almost like pro wrestling it out. When you're putting the deal on, when you're getting the excitement, when you're getting the energy, when you're getting, you don't have to go to that extreme, but you know, you can bring in a greater degree of detail, of interest, and really create something that's going to be fun and sell for each other and put it over. And he's always very fun for me to play with as a player. Unfortunately, we don't get to play together more. Now, another one of my buddies that used to run a lot of games isn't around anymore. This guy named Travis, his first wife, who he doesn't like anymore at all. But I was getting along with her really well. Her name was Lana. And as a player, her and I, same deal. I mean, fantastic chemistry, you know. Her and Kevin. It was really interesting because her and Kevin had horrible chemistry. Horrible in games. Because the three of us would often play together. It would just be the three of us. And their chemistry was terrible. My chemistry with both of them was wonderful. I would put them down as 1 and 2, and it's hard to say, honestly, which one I thought was more, I had the better chemistry with. But, you know, the same thing. Should sell for my character. Like, I didn't even have to tell her stuff, you know, or sell anything. It was just right from the get-go, you know. We never had to sit down and make characters together. She'd make something, I'd make something. Boom. It would always. We played a lot. We gamed it together a lot, and it always just worked out real well. So it was a pleasure. And when you hear like, oh, I'm gonna put this game together, and my question is first, who's playing? And certain names are like, oh, that's gonna be rough. And other names are like, ooh, yeah, oh yeah. Or you say, hey, get him. And online it's the same way. You know, there's certain people I'm gonna grab and try to bring into a game. You know, one of the big problems online I have is there's too many that fit into my groups in terms of people I really like to play with. There's so many of you, and we can, you know, 4 players and a game master on a G Plus or Skype game. That's a push. That's like capped. Like 5 and a game master, I think is way too many. Whereas in real life, I think 6 and a game master is well easily doable. 7 can be a little tighter, and it depends on what sort of game you're playing, how solo or how party it is. If it's solo and you have 6 players, you don't want to. That's too many. You don't want to sit there for 3 hours between getting to play, and that could very easily happen in a game where you have that many people doing so much solo stuff. Particularly if you're not put in positions to roleplay with other characters. If you're put in position to roleplay with other characters and you can sustain that time in character with them, then having a game master handle something solo is certainly easy enough to do. So, kind of to hear you guys' stories in terms of what you think, you know, those players. And again, we're not talking bad players. Like, if somebody's a power gamer or they make just terrible characters, they won't roleplay, they talk out a character, they're texting their girlfriend all night, they're doing whatever that's disruptive, problematic. That's not the type of player we're talking about here. We have other videos talking about that, so I want to be very clear. We're just talking about people that for whatever reason you can't click, or you don't click well with. You know, just think about the game you have and who your favorite people are to play with. They might simply just be the best player in your estimation of the group, or it may not be. You know, and of course it's gonna. And if you want to up your chemistry with people, really the best thing to do is try to sell for them, try to put their stuff over, try to conceptually lean. You know, if your character was built this way, well, you go, okay, well, he's doing that. Let me, while I still have that integral core to my character, let me start leaning it this way. Let me start leaning it towards him, so it can make a little more sense. After all, you always want to be welcome in a gaming group. You want to be in a situation where people are like, it's really, really snowing outside, where people are really digging what you're doing, and that should always be part of your goal when you're in a game. You don't want to be like, oh, you know, You want to be like, oh yeah, we got this guy to play. This is gonna be fantastic. And your chemistry with the other players will largely predict that. Uh, Above and beyond the simple things, you got to show up, you got to try, and hopefully you'll succeed. You want to do those sort of things, but bad chemistry with the rest of the group, or with other with even with certain players, can definitely make the experience lessened. And I think that's something very important to focus on, trying to increase and trying to. The first thing you want to do is take stock of it. You're like, oh, I don't. Well, what is it? Is it this guy sucks? Is he a right terrible player, or is this guy is he a fine player, but our styles just they don't lock. They're not going to work well together, and that's something we need to address. So this is your main man. I've been talking about chemistry. I want to hear your thoughts. Leave them in the comments below. Barbarian Horde. Make sure if you haven't, get your copies of Within the Ring of Fire. Go to drivethrurpg.com to get the physical copies of the first 4 books. You can go download the character mask, which is our character sheet, for free. To kind of have a bit of a look, a bit of a self-education, and that actually explains quite a bit mechanically. You're going to have a better idea of what you're looking at there. And if you want to get the PDF bundle, hit your main man up on Facebook, Andrew Wood, or main man, I think, still clicks back in there. And you can pick those up for only $75 for everything we'll ever put up with on Ring of Fire. You get 4 PDFs for that right away, and some extras too. And you also get your stuff before anyone else. So that's something well worth doing. You can see the reviews, you can see the other videos put out. The game is something that you're going to enjoy, and you can definitely use it for all sorts of things. You can build your own world with the various rules. You can make it fail out and build your own fantasy world, or your own what have you. People have made Star Wars games out of it with the rule sets, and other futuristic, post-apocalyptic, real-world period pieces, these sort of things. We're coming out with the air system to make that even more simplistic and easier for you to access. And join us on Raw Immersive Games, our Facebook community. We have, I think, almost 1,000 members on there, talking role playing, and loads of games happen there, both planned and impromptu, both sagas and one shots. So that's a great place if you actually want to learn and see and get involved in Within the Ring of Fire. That's definitely a place to go. So, as always, thank you for watching, and leave your comments below.